Well, we're excited to be back home. Last week we had a bye and we had West Virginia on Saturday, and I thought we did some really nice things early in the match and got us in a position to obviously come home and now play number one Baylor in front of our crowd on Wednesday night. So we're looking forward to it, and should be a really good matchup. We got a ton of respect for what Ryan has done over there, and they've obviously been pretty special. They've played, I think they're 48-2 in sets. They've got well balanced. They're very good defensively, and they manage their game at a pretty high level. So it will be a good test for this for our group.
So is Baylor unbeatable since they're undefeated?
I don't think anybody's unbeatable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's, every team has their strengths and their weaknesses, and they got to perform at a certain level to sustain that. But we have the pieces to put up a good fight, and we're excited to have that opportunity.
Why were they ranked as low as 20th in the preseason, do you think?
Sometimes our conference doesn't get as much respect early on, and I think they had to go out and kind of earn that. But I think that's what you have to do when you're building a program. I mean, at some point we were that same way, and they went out and they took care of business and beating Wisconsin and some other good teams and Marquette, and so they've earned their way, and they've developed a really good team. They've got some really nice pieces. Pressey's a junior outside hitter that is putting over 5 kills per game. They've got a great libero and Wolf. And their other pins are doing a nice job, and then their big senior Stafford in the middle is has a very high volleyball IQ, so she can score in a variety of different ways and keeps them off balance. And I think their setter's much improved.
Jerritt, over these last 5 matches, all sweeps, what has your team done well? What have you seen from your team that you like?
Well, we've been having a big focal point on our defense. We've been obviously getting our rhythm offensively and trying to kind of get that, but right now we're really making a focus for the defensive side. And so we put some stretches together. We've been a little bit better. I think our serving has continued to improve, and I think this will be a really good test for us. I think to see kind of where we really are in that marker and where we can play at and be consistent. We've been working a lot with her eye sequencing. The ball setter, ball hitter, picking the right spots to be in, and then also trying to kind of keep her head still and making sure that we're getting up and over and doing that. So she's bought in from the very beginning, and I think she's making some incremental improvements. It's a very hard skill to improve on dramatically in a short period of time, but I like what her growth rate has been to this point, and you can see the improvement rate from her and what it's going to do for our defense.
Going back to Baylor, what have you seen from them growth-wise over the past couple of years? Because obviously they are number one. On the other hand, you guys haven't lost to them recently. What have you seen from them over these past few years to where they've gotten to where they are?
Yeah, I think Ryan has done a really nice job of recruiting the right kind of athletes. He's developed some. He's got some good transfers. Gia's a transfer from Maryland that also looked at us as well. And then they've developed the players into, they're kind of in a college athletics is kind of unique because of the way that the classes kind of run. They've got a senior in Gia, they've got a senior in Stafford, and the libero is a senior, and then the Pressey's a junior. So they've had a lot of time together to kind of develop that continuity. They've obviously Ryan's gotten some buy-in from his system of what they're doing, and it's, to me, it's great. It's our conference needs this. It's what it's about. I'm hoping that. Ryan stays in the Big 12 for years to come because this is good. It's good to have this, and it bolsters our conference and also gives us an opportunity to obviously put a resume out there to be a top 4 seed, which we're both fighting for.
You just kind of touched on my question, but how important is it for the conference to have a challenger to you guys because y'all have been so consistently good for so long? How much does this league need a consistent challenger?
Well, we've had sporadic challengers. Kansas was there for a good while, and Iowa State has been there, and but our conference needs it. We need everyone to get better. I think every coach in the conference wants to get better. We want to sustain that. And it's hard to do, but maybe a few less good nights of sleep for me. But I think overall it's great for us. I'm really excited about this. You know, I don't look at this as a negative at all. I think it's great. It's good for college athletics. It's great. You know, this is probably a big time focal match for the rest of the country to watch it and be a part of it. And but for us, it's resume building and trying to get our ultimate goal is to win, obviously, the Big 12. But then the next step is to get yourself into a Final Four where you can compete for a national championship.
And then how are your girls viewing this? You know, this type of big time match against a an undefeated opponent.
Yeah, how's our team viewing it? I haven't even really touched on it yet. So I only spoke about West Virginia last week in terms of what we're doing. I told them, after the match that we look forward to getting some film and watching that and preparing. But I think they're pretty fired up, especially in our home crowd, and I think they're ready for this emotional excitement and that release of energy to kind of play and play as a team and play as one.
I assume you recruited McGee as well, Kermit?
Yeah, we looked at McGee. A lot of this stuff happened so early. We knew that she was going to be really good, and she's, one that was developing. But we need sometimes more time. I think the position I'm in is that I want to get the best kids in Texas. She's turned out to be one of those players. We don't get them all, but I need to make sure that, that I'm getting the kids that I'm recruiting, a lot of them pan out. And I got to make sure, and we felt that way, but we also had some other kids that we had recruited and felt pretty good about.
Did you offer her late, or just how did that work?
To tell you the truth, I don't remember the whole call. I mean, she came on a visit. We got in that position, and they offered, and I think she took it pretty fast. And so obviously there's other schools that have different philosophies. They try to go and they offer a little bit earlier than we do, and we try to be a little bit more patient and have families kind of look at that. But we knew that she had lineage here. Dad played football here, and that was important to us. But we wanted a little bit more time and to make that decision.
And how would you describe her as a freshman?
She's doing a great job. She's a nice athlete. I think she's a really good person. I think she's committed to what she wants to do as an athlete, and she's making big strides for them right now. And filling in some big shoes as a freshman. That's not easy.
And Gia, you said y'all did recruit Gia.
She looked at us.
Yeah.
We ended up, going a different direction. But she was one of those players that is right now playing the best volleyball that she's played, and is a really solid player for them and kind of their glue to the team. And she's doing a nice job, and I'm very impressed with her growth rate in that program.
You mentioned some inconsistencies on the court after the Oklahoma game, and have you seen in the last week or so improvement in that area?
Yeah, it's something that we addressed. I think sometimes failing is a good thing as a coach when you're winning, and so you get to go back and kind of really think that over. After that match, I spent a lot of time watching film and talking to our team about it. I think they did a really nice job of kind of preparing. When you have a young team and you're playing in these matches through conference and throughout the year, I think it's the emotional stability that you have to prepare and take time to prepare and get yourself emotionally psyched up is a big challenge for the youth when they've got so many other things going on. So that was kind of the big lesson for this. It wasn't like we were a knee-jerk reaction and panicking to what was going on. We were just trying to make sure that early on I wanted to use that as a knee-jerk reaction, but I think afterwards it was just, after I sat around on Sunday thinking about it, this group needs to learn and develop and be in that situation.
You conceded earlier that Presley may have been one that got away from you guys, even though that 17 class, you guys was pretty stacked.
Yeah.
How good of a player has she become for Baylor?
Texas has a lot of great players, and we can't get every great player. She was a player that we looked at, but she was not as experienced as some of the other ones that were coming in with the national rankings that could come in and contribute it right off the bat at the same level. So we knew that she was going to be good. Now she's kind of really fully hitting her stride and is in that situation. And you talk about it from the old middle blocker that they had at Kansas, and McGee and Pressey. It's hard. We only have 12 scholarships. I wish I had more to offer more kids, but she's a really nice player. She's developing a great range. She's playing good defense. She's becoming a good blocker. She's got a good deep serve right now that she's been working on, and again, she's becoming a complete player that is one of the best outside hitters in the country.
Do you think it's possible for your players to look at this, assuming it stays 1-4, as themselves as underdogs, or do you think that they realize they're the defending champs, it's their home?
Yeah, I don't know how they look at that. It's a good question. I know one thing is that we don't talk about the rankings at all. So it's just, to me, it's a publicity thing. It's good for our recruiting and that kind of position to kind of know where we stand. But we never give any hype, or we never talk to our team, oh, we moved up to number 4 or 3 or 2. That's not important. What's important is how we kind of go about our business. And, you know, we have a program that has a lot of pride. You know, they're coming in, and Baylor's, I'm sure, coming in with the will to kind of knock us off that. But for us, I think the biggest thing that we can do as a coaching staff is make sure that it's process-oriented and it's the same routines every single day, that we don't approach this differently than when we face Oklahoma or Texas Tech or Iowa State or Stanford or anything like that. You need to learn how to be consistent as an athlete to be good. And so I'm excited for them to have that opportunity to see where they're at. For me, you know, the big matches are always kind of my practice to see where we're at, and we can evaluate that and move forward. But, you know, obviously it's a big one at home, and we have some value to it, and it'll give that one team a half-game lead going into the second half of the conference. Yeah.
And then is Bree where you want her to be right now?
You know, Bree's getting back into it. You know, the question of where she wants to be, I haven't had a lot of chance to see her even in the preseason because she was hurt. But, you know, when she's good, she's really good. And she brings, the aspect that she brings is, you know, obviously a high kill percentage, but her blocking is a big part of this. And she can control the match in that and make some big key plays. So we're happy with where she's at. She's sufficient enough, and she can still take over a match with her, you know, lack of training right now.
What's the key headed into this match against Baylor?
I think if you talk to any coach in any match, the first key is the serve and pass game. You've got to be able to control that and be in a good position to do that. We've got to manage our errors and manage our game at a high level, and then we've got to be really good with the game plan. We've got to make sure that we're picking good spots for the block, good in our transition game, and you know, using all the weapons that we have and having some balance with that.